Welcome to the Minute of Terror channel. Leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment where you are watching this video from.
My name is Heather Donahue, and I'm holding this camera like it's the only thing keeping me alive. My hand trembles, and the sound of my breathing, loud and uneven, is probably being picked up by the microphone. I'm trying to convince myself that I'm a filmmaker, a fearless documentarian, but the truth is, I'm terrified. My heart is pounding so hard it feels like it's going to burst out of my chest, and every shadow around me seems to shift, watching me. This wasn't supposed to happen. It was just a college project, a dumb idea born from my obsession with scary stories. A documentary about the Blair Witch, a dark legend from Buckettsville, Maryland, that I thought would impress my professors. I convinced Josh Leonard, my friend and cameraman, and Michael Williams, the sound guy, to join me on this. They trusted me, laughed at my excitement, and now, I don't know if any of us will make it out of this forest alive. This guilt eats at me, but I keep filming because it's the only thing stopping me from completely breaking down. It was October 1994, and autumn was in full swing. Leaves fell in shades of red and orange, but the air carried a cold, almost oppressive weight. We arrived in Buckettsville on a clear morning, the sun shining, but the town felt oddly quiet, as if the residents were watching us from behind their curtains. I was thrilled, gripping the camera tightly, barking orders at Josh and Mike like I was some big-time movie director. We filmed interviews with the locals, and I felt in control, asking questions, capturing reactions. Some folks laughed off the legend, saying it was just a story to scare naughty kids. But others had a look that made me swallow hard. An elderly woman with deep wrinkles and a shaky voice spoke about the Blair Witch, Elly Kedward, a woman accused of witchcraft in the 18th century. She was banished, tied up, and left in Black Hills Forest to die in the harsh winter. Since then, the woman said the forest was never the same. People vanish, voices echo at night, and stick figures, called Stickmen, appear as warnings. She grabbed my arm tightly, her bony fingers cold against my skin, and whispered, "Don't go into that forest." I laughed nervously and said it was just a movie, but her gaze stayed etched in my mind. Another resident mentioned Rustin Parr, a hermit who, in the 1940s, killed 7 kids in an isolated house in the forest. He claimed a voice told him to do it, a voice from the witch. The story was horrific, yet fascinating, and I knew it would make an incredible documentary. Josh was excited, talking about dramatic shots, while Mike, more reserved, just grumbled about wanting to finish soon. We planned to spend 2 nights in Black Hills Forest, film the so-called Children's Cemetery, where Parr's victims were supposedly buried, and return with enough material for a gripping short film. We had a detailed map, a reliable compass, 3 days worth of food, 2 tents, and filming equipment. I felt prepared, like I could handle anything. But as we drove to the forest entrance, I spotted a crow perched on an old post. It stared at us, its black eyes like hollow pits, unblinking. My stomach churned, but I brushed it off. It was just a bird, right? Just a bird. That first afternoon in the forest, everything seemed normal, yet with an unsettling edge. The trees were tall, their thick trunks covered in moss, and the ground was carpeted with dry leaves that crunched under our feet. The sun barely pierced the canopy, casting a weak, grayish light. We walked for hours, following the map, filming the scenery, joking to ease the tension. I narrated for the camera, trying to sound confident, while Josh teased me about being the bossy leader, and Mike complained about his heavy backpack. At night, we set up camp in a small clearing, surrounded by trees that seemed to lean over us. We recorded a few more scenes, discussing the legend, trying to build a spooky vibe for the movie. But when the sun set, the forest changed. The silence was absolute, as if even the insects had vanished. I felt a weight on my chest, a sense of being watched. Then came the noises, twigs snapping, slow and deliberate, as if someone or something was circling the tent. My breathing quickened, and I grabbed the camera, pointing it into the dark. "It's just an animal," Josh said, but his voice shook. Mike huddled down, eyes wide, clutching the microphone like a weapon. I filmed, struggling to stay composed, but my hand trembled so much the lens wobbled. There was nothing in the darkness, just shadows that seemed to pulse. We stayed awake all night, huddled in the tent, hearts racing, hoping daylight would bring relief. But the fear had taken root, like a seed beginning to grow. On the second day, fear became a constant presence, like poison flowing through my veins. We woke with deep bags under our eyes, pale faces and bodies heavy with exhaustion. I checked the backpack, and the map was gone. Just gone. I swear I'd tucked it away carefully, folded in an inner pocket, but it wasn't there. I rifled through everything, hands shaking, while Mike glared at me with anger. "You lost the map, you idiot," he yelled, throwing the backpack to the ground. I tried to explain, but my voice faltered and tears burned my eyes. Josh attempted to mediate, but I could see panic rising in him too. I clutched the compass, pretending I still had control, but the forest seemed to deceive us. We walked for hours and everything looked the same. Dark trees, slippery moss, shadows that seemed to shift when we looked away. The sky was perpetually overcast, as if a gray curtain had been drawn over us, stealing any hope of direction. In the afternoon, we found something that froze my blood. In a corner of the forest, there was a pile of stones stacked like a primitive grave. It wasn't natural. Someone had placed those stones there with precision as part of a ritual. They were smooth, almost polished, and seemed to absorb the light around them. Nearby, in the trees, were the Stickmen. Figures made of twigs tied with string, hanging from branches, swaying slowly in the wind. Some had human shapes, others were more abstract, but they all felt alive. I filmed, my voice trying to sound calm, but inside I was screaming. "Someone's messing with us," I told the camera, but my throat was so dry the words barely came out. Josh stood still, staring at the Stickmen, like he was hypnotized. Mike mumbled something about leaving, his voice low and shaky. My heart pounded so hard I felt it in my head, and every crack in the forest made me jump. It was as if the forest was laughing at us, daring us to keep going. That night, terror became something tangible, like an invisible hand squeezing my neck. The noises returned, louder, more aggressive. It wasn't just twigs snapping. It was heavy footsteps, quick runs, shrill laughs echoing through the trees. Laughs, as if a group of people were toying with our sanity. But there was no one there. I turned on the camera, pointing it into the dark, my breathing so loud it drowned out the microphone. "Who's there? Show yourself," I shouted, but my voice cracked, and the sound faded into the forest. Mike was curled up in the tent, muttering about wanting to go home, that this wasn't worth it. Josh tried to be brave, holding a flashlight that barely lit a meter ahead, but his eyes gleamed with fear. Suddenly, something slammed into the tent hard, like a giant hand had struck it. I screamed, dropped the camera, and we clung to each other, trembling as the noises continued. Footsteps circled the tent, laughs mixed with whispers, and I swear I heard my name, soft like a breath. "Heather." My whole body prickled, and I felt a chill that wasn't from the air. We stayed like that until dawn, hearts in our throats, praying the light would save us. When we emerged, we found more Stickmen, now forming a perfect circle around the tent. They hadn't been there before. Someone, or something, had been there inches from us while we shook in fear. On the third day, we were broken. No map, no direction, food running low. Mike admitted with a yell that he'd thrown the map away the previous night, tired of following me like I knew what I was doing. "You brought us here, Heather. You and your stupid idea," he shouted, tears of rage streaming down his face. I cried, yelled back, apologized, but the guilt crushed me. My idea, my fault. The forest felt alive, as if the trees moved when we weren't looking, as if the ground tilted to disorient us. At night, the noises changed. They weren't laughs anymore. They were children's voices singing a distorted tune, calling our names. Heather, Josh, Mike. My skin crawled, and I felt a coldness creeping up my spine, like something was slithering inside me. I filmed it all, my hand shaking so much the image blurred. Josh started losing it, saying the witch was real, that she was playing with us, that we were cursed. I wanted to believe it was a hallucination, that we were just exhausted, but the fear was stronger. It consumed me, making me question every sound, every shadow, every breath. The forest wasn't just a place, it was a monster, and we were its prey. On the fourth night, Josh vanished. We woke, and he wasn't in the tent. His backpack, his camera, everything was gone, as if he'd never existed. Mike and I screamed his name for hours, our voices hoarse, echoing through the forest, but the silence that followed was worse. It was as if the forest swallowed the sound, reminding us we were alone. We wandered aimlessly, tripping over roots, the camera swaying in my hand. We found more stacked stones, more stickmen, and something that made me vomit, a dirty, blood-stained cloth tied with hair. The iron smell was so strong it made me gag, and I fell to my knees crying. I don't know if it was Josh's, but the thought that it might be, oh God, I couldn't breathe. Mike was in shock, his eyes empty, like his soul had already given up. I kept filming because it was the only thing keeping me sane. My voice on the camera was a whisper, thick with tears. I'm so sorry, Josh. I'm so sorry. This is my fault. That night, we heard Josh. He was screaming, begging for help, but the voice came from far off, distorted, as if the forest was twisting it. We ran, stumbling over branches, the camera swinging wildly. My breathing was a sob. My chest ached, and the fear was a living thing, tightening my throat, suffocating me. Every step seemed to pull us deeper into the forest, as if it was drawing us in. We found nothing, just more darkness, more trees that seemed to close in around us. I cried in front of the camera, apologizing to my family, to Josh, to Mike. My voice was a wail, broken by the weight of guilt. I knew this was all my doing. I brought them here, to this hell. On the fifth day, or maybe sixth, I'd lost count. We were finished. No food, no hope, just raw fear like a knife stabbed into my chest. Mike barely spoke, just shuffled forward like a zombie, eyes fixed on the ground. I held the camera as if it could save me, as if recording everything could keep me alive. My body shook, my teeth chattered, and every sound in the forest, a twig snapping, a leaf falling, made me jump. At night, we heard Josh again, screaming, but now closer, so clear it felt like he was beside us. Heather, Mike, help me. We followed the sound, running in the dark, until we reached an abandoned house in the middle of the forest. It was old with broken boards, windows dark as empty eyes, and a moldy smell that made the air feel solid. I knew it was Rustin Parr's house, where he killed those kids. Every fiber of my being screamed not to go in, but Mike insisted, his voice hoarse. He's in there. I know he is. We went inside, the camera lighting narrow corridors filled with cobwebs that stuck to my face. The walls had scratch marks, like someone had tried to claw their way out. The floor creaked, and every step echoed, as if the house were alive. My heart raced so fast, I felt it in my throat, and the fear was so overwhelming I could hardly breathe. We descended to the basement, following Josh's weakening screams, as if he was giving up. My voice trembled as I narrated for the camera, trying to convince myself everything was okay, but I knew it wasn't. In the basement, the air was icy, and the smell of damp earth mixed with something rotten. Mike stopped suddenly, staring at a corner of the wall, like he'd seen something. He dropped the camera, and I yelled for him to come back. Mike, no. And something hit me on the head, hard like a hammer. The camera fell, and everything went black. I don't know what happened after that. I don't know how I'm here, alone, holding this camera. My head throbs, and dried blood sticks to my hair. The forest is silent now, but I feel it watching me. Every shadow, every branch, every whisper in the wind, it's her. The Blair, which isn't a legend. She's real. She's in every corner of this forest, in every part of me. My body trembles, my tears fall onto the lens, and I know she won't let me go. As I film this with a broken voice and a shattered heart, all I can think is, forgive me. Forgive me for bringing us here. Forgive me for believing I could control what can't be